Welcome back. Companies around the globe rallying behind the Orlando community in the wake of such devastating events earlier this week. Stoli Vodka tweeted its support for the victims, families, and everyone affected by the tragedy. Joining us right now is Stoli Group USA President and CEO Patrick Piana. Patrick, good to see you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk about the Stoli that you brought on the set on this weekend. World Martini Day is coming up on Sunday. But tell us why you tweeted out for the families and why that was so important to make sure to put your company out there.
You know, Maria, it's very important for Stoli, who has been a great supporter of the LGBT community for more than 20 years. I think the support of the brand started early 90s, and we continue to be extremely involved. So for us, you know, with such a horrible act of terror, it was important for us to support the victims, their families, and their friends.
Good for you. We are today talking about both World Martini Day and Father's Day.
Yes.
On Sunday. How is business today?
Business is good,
yeah.
And you know, the business of Stoli has been pretty good last year. We're fortunate that the company has been able to beat the market over the last year. We're continuing on a pretty good trend so far, so we're excited. A lot of innovation with the launch of Stoli gluten-free this year for the company. We've expanded the portfolio as well with the arrival of a Louisiana rum that we recently partnered with called Bayou. So business is good. Thank you.
I've got a question for you. First, I do need to toast my father, a religious viewer of this show. Happy Father's Day, Dad, who has had a martini probably every night for about the last 50 years.
Is that right?
You need to bring back that where people actually drink liquor at night rather than a glass of vino.
There was a time when people had it at lunch, right?
But I do want to ask, so his father didn't drink vodka. His father drank rye and bourbon.
Yep.
And now, of course, that has come surging back.
Yep.
So I want to ask you, how are you doing against this cocktail culture where it's the brown liquors that seem to be the popular ones?
You know, I think the market in itself and the repertoire that consumers are having is pretty diverse. You know, your father I thank him for drinking martini every day. Probably also had other drinks. And, you know, I think depending on the moment and the occasion, you're going to be feeling extremely great about a martini with elite, and sometimes you're going to be feeling, you know, that you're more in the brown spirits mood. When it comes to cocktail now, cocktails are going back to the big classics. So the classics are usually made of great spirits and then simple ingredients so the spirits can express themselves. So it's, you know, the brown spirits are coming back, but if you think about vodka in the US, it's still by far the biggest market, continues to grow. And I think through innovation, we're going to be able, not only us, but also all our competitors, to continue to make the category extremely attractive.
I know, but to your point, I know bars that are deeply serious cocktail bars here and in other cities that I frequent that don't even stock vodka. You can't get vodka, period. You can get gin, but you can't get vodka. They just won't make cocktails with them. So you guys have work to do.
Now, we do have work to do, and I think the beauty of the work that we have to do is that as long as we will be bringing to the market what we consider, but not only us, the best vodka in the world with Stoli Elite, which has been rated, you know, 97 points on the BTI, which is the ranking institute in terms of quality. I think bartenders, if they have to make one martini with one brand, I'm sure it's going to be with Stoli Elite.
And by the way, you said innovation. You've got here on set the Elite by Stoli. That's the high end.
Yes.
How's that doing? Does the high end do better than the mid range, or and Stoli gluten free? That's funny. You want
if you think about growth, you know, I mentioned that last year we had a pretty good performance, and we basically our pace of growth, we outpaced the market by about 4 points. That's really with our Stoli Premium. Stoli Elite, we're growing by significant double digits, more than 25% last year. So the ultra premium part of the market, which is still small, continues to accelerate. Innovation, only 2 months ago we introduced in the US Stoli gluten-free. And Stoli gluten-free really is a proposition that is not only for consumers who suffer from celiac disease, but it's a lifestyle. We know that a gluten-free consumer goods market in food represents about, I think, $47 billion every year.
Yeah.
So it's not a short-term trend. It's something that is going to be here to stay, and I think it was important for us to bring an expression of Stoli.
Patrick, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Happy World Martini Day to you. Patrick Piana there from Stoli.